Hello everybody and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we're on the map. Well, actually, it's a good question. What map are we on? Well, we are on the map Red Rock Desert. And here we have a game between Wraxell, who is playing Legion, and Autopilot, who is also playing Legion. So a 1v1 with Legion here. And not only that, but Autopilot being one of the best 1v1ers in the scene. It'll be interesting to see how he deals with Legion. Now, I hope you all enjoyed the changes to the audio we made in the last couple of videos. I have just upped the volume, as you probably just saw there, of the in-game audio. So hopefully that'll be a little bit better for you. And we'll see how this map looks. So Autopilot, as you can see here, going for all 5 metal extractors and then going into two wind turbines. Now, one thing to note is that metal extractors for Legion actually starts with energy production rather than energy cost. You do get less metal out. But when you think of it, he's getting 7 energy for each one, but losing 0.3 metal. In the early game, that's quite advantageous because it means you need a lot less winds to get going. I mean, he's almost built that con before building a 3rd wind. And as we look over here to Wraxell, we can see Wraxell has built a lot more winds and a solar. And his energy production is doing well at the moment. He's already got a con out. But there is a scout about to rock up. And Wraxell doesn't have anything to defend yet. Or just gets that other wheelie out in time to defend. He will be fine now. So let's have a look at the map while we take a few minutes for both players to get what they're doing. We can see Wraxell's just building cons here. And for Autopilot we have con, wheelies, some of the early assault tanks into the same sort of loop. Now, both players choosing the exact same start position here. It's quite a useful one. We have seen other players choose to go for a more central position on this map, but no. One of the reasons for that is because basically they can secure this top area here with the base being kind of like the safe space, should we say. You build like an LRT here or get some defenses. It's extremely difficult to get units by and get up here. The problem is that's literally what happened as Wraxell has just let stuff straight through. There's a bit of friendly fire there by Wraxell to his own metal extractor. And one wheelie manages to make it past. We won't get the con here, but we'll delay Wraxell's expansion a little bit by killing these metal extractors. There we go. Now, what I was saying is that, yeah, that area up there should be fairly defended. So you build the metal extractors, then you can build a bunch of energy production up there. The only thing you really need to worry about is air. Bombing you, for example. You can see Wraxell here attempting to get the same sort of damage inflicted as Autopilot did to him. It does take quite a while to get. Ooh, but the self-destruct on the metal extractor does its job and takes out the scout. So what can we see about this map? So as you can see, there are several lanes as such. You've got a high path along here. Central section. You got these sections here which are high rise, then along here, then on the bottom. Now this water bit is going to limit your movement, and the reason why we've seen other players start here is because there's a lot of metal extractors down here that you want to contest as opposed to the top side. So pushing this way is pretty advantageous. Now Autopilot doing some great pressure here. Wraxell still hasn't rebuilt this metal extractor. And Autopilot, again, able to get a single scout through. Going to be able to pick off those metal extractors yet again. Not looking good for Wraxell in this early stage. This constructor could just reclaim this scout. It is only at 5% health, but Wraxell not really paying attention to it at all. Could just do with like a single LLT. Right there. That would stop any of these run-bys that he's getting. But it does seem that Wraxell now going on the offensive. He's got these guys down at the bottom trying to pull the army off. But the most important thing is these guys are about to rock straight into the center of the base. Now there is a laser tower there. These guys do make pretty short work of laser towers, but they've got extremely short range, as you can see. They have a very high alpha damage though. But when compared with the Helios will probably out-damage them, especially if he keeps just trying to kite. These guys are kind of a bit more of an all-in unit than a kite unit, which is what he's trying to do. But the longer he stays at range of these Helioses, the worse it's going to be for him. And he's now trying to run away, which is the fair move here. He's going to try and pick up some metal extractors on his way by. Oh. No, for some reason he turns around. That is not the choice I was expecting. Could have just kept going and get metal extractors, but no. What information does he have? Right, so this is the view of Wraxell here. You can see he's aware of these here. He's got a little scout at the bottom. He's aware that the metal extractors at the high ground exist, and some of this. And when we select Autopilot, I'd argue he has better coverage right now. He could do with a radar at the top. Maybe placing one on the high ground just up here, but otherwise, pretty good coverage. And now, funnily enough, these guys managed to miss these 4 units as they just went straight past them, and Wraxell doesn't really have units to defend that now. We'll probably pick up a con, but Wraxell does manage to get Autopilot's con, so that's a fairly straight up deal there. And as he runs into the Helioses again, gonna get shut down. This time though, deciding to turn around. Good play here. There is a good chunk of these Alarises in the middle, which could prove a bit of a probing attack here on this. This LLT will not survive long enough. More than one will be needed to defend that. Meanwhile, I find it interesting that neither player really prioritizing the high ground advantage here. Both just kind of fighting over the flanks instead. Units do manage to make it here in time to defend these mexes, but the speed of these guys, if they've been selected correctly, should be enough to micro the mexes down. Yep, there we go. And realistically, that's all Autopilot wanted to do. Get rid of the metal extractors. Force your opponent to send a constructor down there. But it's interesting to see that he is staying with the Liarises. There we go. Finally switching out the Helioses and the Curions as well. You can see if these guys are allowed to get into range, the Alarises, they are very strong. But the problem is that how short a range they have. And now Wraxell going to do his best to try and take out as many of these expansion metal extractors as possible. This is going to be a big economy hit here for Autopilot if Wraxell continues to micro them, which he is not. And as these kind of go and get a bit more value, we're going to pay attention to this attack here, because this is what is more important Oh, Autopilot now forced to run away. But this attack is relatively close to the base, so it is a bit worrying. But Autopilot losing quite a few metal extractors there. You know, we've got 5, 10 metal extractors lost, plus another one about to go as well. That is a lot of metal extractors to lose. And for what, a couple of raiding tanks? Like, see a few of them around. That is insane amount of value. But very, very good raid there from Wraxell. And you can just see the difference. Look at where Wraxell's comm is right now. So Autopilot has kept his commander in base this entire time, using the build power of his commander to push out more and more units. Whereas Wraxell has decided he's just gonna like push with his commander. I'd kind of want... Oh, there we go. I was about to say I'd kind of want his commander to go this way. Get this, because it's going to be fairly safe metal extractors. But I would not be surprised if he did go this way, with the idea that he wants to claim as many as possible and then go into this corner and take this. But nope, does seem like he's queued up these backwards ones. Will then probably move forward to get these further forward ones. And Wraxell just doing very well here on all fronts. The Curions are quite a problem unit for a lot of people. Don't really know how to counter them effectively en masse. They are very, very strong tank. They are very slow though, which is another thing. And it's like they're not very accurate. But they just keep going. Which is the problem. They just don't stop. I once had a situation where I was basically using them versus bulls, and they worked surprisingly well, which I was not expecting. And at the moment, you can see here, he's pushing 2 of these Decurions down against a huge amount of Helioses. And yeah, Autopilot is really hesitant about pushing into them. He does manage to deal with them, losing only 2 Helioses for the push. Meanwhile, Wraxell now pushing into the base with his with his Decurions. There is enough Autopilot funds, though, here to pretty much stop any damage being inflicted. At this point, it kind of would be maybe worth self-destructing these to not leave the wrecks behind. Only 180 damage wreck, but still, like, what? Yeah, he got a single Helios after he knew he was going to lose there. He could have manual targeted these energy converters maybe to get a bit of damage inflicted on the eco, but other than that, there wasn't really much he could do. A very surprising addition of air here. So for a note, if you ever play Legion and you want to do something really funny with your friends that you're playing with, about 15 of these martyrs insta kills a commander. Just so you know. You want to go completely just one tap an opponent. Yeah, they're standing still. Suiciders. Obviously, if they've got AA, you need, you know, a bit more. But still. What is going on? What is with this line of wins? Very odd, Wraxell. I don't know what you're doing there. Oh, Wraxell may be about to lose some economy now, finally, for a change. At the bottom, there are several LLTs. And I know they're heat ray towers, so I'm still going to call them LLTs. And still not enough. They do get the man extractors. Wraxell comm is in the corner. He'll be able to rebuild that fairly easily. Both players seem to be building air purely for the fighters to just defend against maybe those suicide bomber attacks, but one thing that Legion Air lacks is a bomber. So it has a Juno bomber, but it doesn't have a Tech 1 bomber like you see Armada and Cortex use for like mass bomb waves, especially in the early phase. So you kind of need to bear that in mind. You see a lot of people going for the mosquito snipe and doing pretty well with those as well. Mosquitoes have quite a high alpha damage, but as soon as they run out of missiles, they become pretty weak. So yeah, Legion's as start is not very good. Even the fighters are pretty weak as well. You can see how long it's taken to kill that one fighter. It's like ridiculous. But difference in playstyle here, we see Wraxell going for an air con to get those high ground metal extractors, whereas Autopilot went for an air transport to get a constructor up onto that high ground. Now that is a better choice in my opinion, due to the fact that the air can't really stop this guy. This guy also has more build power than a air constructor, meaning he should be able to build this stuff a lot quicker. And if he decides he wants to build any form of static defense up here, like, you know, a artillery, or what would be actually really useful up at this high ground, maybe a drone platform, there's nothing that Wraxell can really do about it unless he gets some form of, you know, artillery, which for Legion again is not really great. It has this barrage napalm artillery, but it doesn't arc the same way that that Cortex or Armada artillery does. So I don't know if it'll actually even reach him. But army value wise, Wraxell is starting to lag behind. And this is part of the advantage of the commander's build power in the base here. He's able to push out a lot for the less build turrets. And it is becoming a bit of a problem for Wraxell. He is getting some good hits every now and again on the economy, but with the Curians versus the Curians, he is not really winning this fight. Also, leaving more and more metal for your opponent is not proving to go well for him either. It also wouldn't surprise me we see Autopilot just build a quick bot lab here to just get all this res instead. And the problem with these guys is they're so slow that by the time they get to, like, you can't really defend with them. You've got to attack with them because they just take so long to get anywhere. You see a good group of them massed up along the bottom, and there's only going to be a couple of laser towers to defend. Not really going to be able to do what they need to do. The middle's become a bit of a dead zone. Same with the bottom. Although Autopilot doing a better job at controlling that bottom area. The funny thing is though that there's like just these couple of Helioses that have come behind and just started clearing up the stuff that Autopilot had already capped off, which is quite funny. He was actually getting the metal from these metal extractors. Autopilot. Now it seems that both players at the same time here going Tech 2. Advanced vehicles. We've seen a lot of use of the Medusas. There's Tech 2 vehicles. We'll probably see more of that coming out from both players. The problem Medusas do have though is targeting up a hill. So these high ground positions in the middle and shooting the things that are up on this cleft will prove to be difficult. What are both players choosing to build, though? Currently nothing. We have seen gladiators used quite well. I've been told that they're basically used akin to hounds, just slightly short range. They're not really what you would class of as tank, like an equivalent to tigers or something like that. You're better off using them if you were going to use hounds. The only main tank they have really is the Prometheus, which is extremely good at dealing with spam. So if you're ever dealing with a bunch of pawn spam, that's your choice there. An autopilot with his fusion already up. We look over to this side here for Wraxell. Wraxell instead deciding to get his metal extractors up first and then going into the fusion. So surprisingly though, he is eating his Tech 2 factory here in order to get the fusion built. Now a little sneak peek into what Legion can have is that at the moment they're using these advanced exploiters, right, which are the Cortex ones. But in the extra build unit options, they actually have a metal extractor with a con turret on, which is a interesting idea. You built them, you know, in your base, like in this instance, you would have the addition of 5 like build turrets just in your base on your metal extractors not taking up space, which I think is quite an interesting idea. Not a defensive metal extractor like what we see with the other 2 factions. So don't know if it's going to yet be put into the base game, but we'll have to wait and see, really. A lot of metal extractors to be upgraded in Wraxell's base, and both players now kind of taking a second to get their economy up. Neither player is pressuring the other to make a move here, so it kind of makes sense that they would just take the time to kind of get as much economy up as possible. Now, with both players being the same faction and the same units, it makes it somewhat difficult to counter each other. But let's have a quick look at the units itself. So obviously we have the anti-nuke, which is still the Cortex model for now. Tech 2 isn't finished for Legion in whatsoever. And as Wraxell says, yeah, the calm before the storm, exactly. Anti-air is pretty much, you know, self-explanatory. The Triton is actually pretty good. When it comes to Tech 2 amphibious, it's actually, I would say, better than the poison arrow and the turtle by quite a bit. The Mantis drone platform, if you build enough of these en masse, they are ridiculously hard to deal with. If you catch your opponent off guard with no AA, you'll struggle, and especially with these rubbish fighters that Legion have for Tech 1, they will not be able to deal with Mantises whatsoever. So versus a Legion player, I could see you doing pretty well with massing a bunch of these Mantises. Napalm artillery, if you get enough of it, can work very well versus Tech 1 or in placed positions, but not amazing. Medusa, as we know, very, very strong. We'll pretty much see every Legion vehicle player building these because there's no reason not to. They're just so powerful. Prometheus is, as we've mentioned, very good. The Boreas, not really seeing these used at all yet. They're very situational. But they're the same, you know, as all the other factions. Stealthy rocket trucks, right? You barely see them used. And we've already mentioned that the quick shot is okay, not great, but it does the job. Prometheus doing fairly well here at holding this line against the Decurions. Got a decent range. And if Autopilot's not paying attention, it will manage to clear these up fairly well. Now, it does take a 300 energy a shot to fire, so it's not something you need to really be careful of, but still enough that you need to, you know, think about it. And we see Wraxell here going for the Mantis strategy. Now, the problem is with these is obviously they're using 500 energy each a drone. So he may be building a little bit too many at the same time. I probably need to, you know, maybe have a bit more Prometheuses to cover for him. You gotta think of these as like, how do you word it? I guess it's kind of like, it's the equivalent of sniper bots or like an artillery, right? The drone carriers themselves are extremely fragile. But the problem is that if the drone carriers die, then the drones just are free. They just still roam around, which is kind of the problem I have with them. If the drone, also the drones get targeted by air, and the drones can also shoot at air, so it means having a fight screen is pretty useless. As we see here, these fighters just get absolutely annihilated by the drones. We'll see how this does. I honestly think he needs more Prometheuses to field for him. Oh, all gladiators works, I guess. Yeah, you're keeping it range, makes sense. His problem is he's not really got units to field. Now, this is going to hurt extremely well for Autopilot because these AAs here are a single target. As long as he targets the AA down, ooh, managing to get 2 there with the Medusa. And this is Autopilot microing things very well. Managed to get 2 per volley, that's tremendous. But as long as he focuses the Medusas down as well as the AA, he should be fine. But again, the drones continue around even after their death. And those Medusas are very, very expensive. Question is, what can Wraxell see? He does see the AA, and there we go. He's going in on that AA. Just needs to set target with them, which he currently has them on fight move, which is again a bit of a mistake. If he sets them on like set target and attacks the AA here, he'll do tremendously well. Instead, though, it's just that fight move has not helped. And chucking in a few of these goblins here to just kind of eat some damage. This is where having some Prometheuses would help significantly, as they will pop those goblins like in seconds. But these trades going favorably for Wraxell at the moment. Slowly whittling down the advantage that Autopilot had when it came to army value. The one Prometheus that he had defending now died. Still not a single frontline unit coming out from Wraxell. Just more and more drone carriers. Or a railgun. Up there. Does seem like drones have been somewhat nerfed, but still able to completely annihilate the army of Autopilot here. And that's with a fighter swarm above as well. These guys are just able to do so much damage. Now this is a limitation of the air defense fighters of Legion here. Really struggling to take out any of these guys. The question is these guys at the top here going to make a move? It does look like that. Now the one thing about drone platforms is they're extremely good at like keeping distance. But as soon as units close down on you, you need some forces there to kind of take the brunt of the damage, and Wraxell does not have any of this. These guys are able to just walk right in. They could have kept going, but it seems Autopilot somewhat hesitant here. Doesn't really know how to counter these drones whatsoever. And is losing on every angle here. We're even getting Tech 2 air defense here. The railgun. The railgun does one-tap a drone, but there's just so many drones here, it's proving difficult. Now, artillery on the high ground with Wraxell not paying attention is causing a lot of damage to these drone carriers. Losing quite a few of them to just sitting here. And really, Wraxell needs to do some work on this stuff up here, or just move his forces away, which he isn't doing yet. You gotta remember, these Tech 1 Air are actually scouts as well, and Wraxell is losing drone carrier after drone carrier here purely to this static artillery, which is a terrible play by Wraxell. He really needs to move them away or move them forward. Just move them somewhere. Stop losing them so freely. Does at least manage to get the reclaim, but it's not looking good for Wraxell right now. He did tremendously well, right? But he has not spread out across the map whatsoever. And now Autopilot just spamming drone carriers as well. And this is exactly how we saw another Legion vehicle matchup go. It's that drone carriers are just very strong. And because of that, you just end up having both players spam them. Economy-wise, though, Autopilot pretty far ahead right now. A good chunk of metal produced extra. He's got good control and Tech 2 metal extractors on pretty much every single metal extractor that he has. Still rebuilding the stuff at the bottom. Wraxell's commander has not really been back in the game whatsoever. And honestly, with the amount of forces now that Autopilot has, I think that's going to be enough to finish Wraxell off. The problem is the drones will fight each other. So when your opponent doesn't have drones, you know, you win fairly well. If both players have drones, then it makes it harder to fight. What you will see happen is exactly what's happening now, where the opponent's drones will go over, you'll fight them, your drones will chase, bring in their drones back, and you just kind of go back and forth here as they like fight, retreat, fight, retreat. And it's a kind of a who can kill the most drones from the other player, and at the moment that seems to be going to Autopilot, doing a lot better of a job. But Tech 3 being built by Wraxell and a Sol Invictus almost complete. Tech 2 defenses here with the Chimeras in position on this bottom side will be enough for now, at least, to stop the units pushing in. But the drones will just slowly whittle it down. There's not enough AA down there at all. But it doesn't matter. All he's hoping for is to keep long enough to keep this Sol Invictus built, which he has done. And now switching over to carriers. Carriers are very, very good. Little bit of a problem he's got, though, is again, he has no air nothing to deal with the drones. Oh, but Tech 3 also out from Autopilot as an Astreus is built here, and Autopilot's own Sol Invictus is 45% done. Well, I can't read today, can I? And just as predicted, we can see the drones here slowly whittling this all down, and we can see, like, even with a Tech 2 AA, which is the equivalent of a flak, it is really struggling to deal with these. I guess your problem is, again, you need to see them as artillery rather than as, like, these as being aircraft, and that you see these more as projectiles. I guess that's kind of how you need to look at it. The minigun is killing it a lot quicker now than what it used to, which is kind of the most important thing. But all of these drone carriers getting killed by the artillery up there, which is very surprising. Oh, and that artillery. With all the drone carriers now gone, Wraxell may have made the wrong move here. Rather than pushing into the base and making the most of having this Sol Invictus, he just decided to go along this top side. And with that, he is now giving away his advantage. Carriers have tried to push down on these drone carriers, and he's making a decent job at them, but you can just see how quickly they die to these drones. And now the drone carriers are dead, yet they're still shooting at them. Still going, see, still going. Honestly feel like these have a lot shorter of a lifespan. Because now they're just free roam, target anything. So yeah. This Sol Invictus though now starting to walk in. I think it will honestly lose this fight though. A single scout plane in the back. Question is how far can this Sol Invictus get? There is an anti-nuke, but neither player has an actual nuke. And these Sol Invictus do explode quite big. And Wraxell is trying to get it closer here, hitting the fusion. It does get the fusion, getting a big chunk of build power, trying to get a second fusion. Does not manage to get any further in, but some substantial economy damage being dealt there to Autopilot. But not only that, we have Tech 2 Air in the Tyrannus here. That is quite a problem for Wraxell to deal with. Question is he gonna double down on the Keras production? No, we see him building another Sol Invictus. He could really do with pushing another angle. He does have a very low health Keras here, which he could push down. Oh, there's built plenty of defenses now, so maybe not. Using these Tech 1 fighters against the Tyrannus will not work out in his favor whatsoever. And now also Autopilot does have Tech 2 Air as well. And it was a very, very good play by Wraxell. If he would have pushed straight in rather than trying to clear up that high ground, I honestly think he could have won that. Considering how much damage he was able to inflict with the, with an enemy Sol Invictus there, he probably could have stopped this one being built, and that would have won him the game. But as it is right now, with these 4 Keras, or 3 Keras, make that 2 now, I don't think he has a chance of winning. The problem is you've got too many Tyrannuses. Yeah, and even Wraxell knows that. Wraxell calls the GG. It was very close. Very, very close. Wraxell had a very good opportunity. But another problem is he never really cleared up any of this after he got those drone carriers. Also, when he did get a good mass of drone carriers, he didn't make a move with them. He took too long. And that kind of cost him the game. I understand the reason why he went this way, because that's the quickest route to your opponent's base. But realistically, he should have gone this way a bit. Spent some time clearing out some of these metal extractors and then trying to push from a different direction. But that's not what happened. Yeah, not quite sure why that Chimera is not popping up, but he's called GG. He hasn't actually ended the game though, but we can see that these guys' guns, the chain guns, seem to shoot straight through. which I thought they would also be classed as plasma, but apparently not. My Wraxell hasn't just hit the resign button. I'm not sure. There we go.
Has self-destructed.
And that's it. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.